Hey,
Hi,
come
guys.
on in the room. We're glad y'all are joining us on this
Welcome back. Welcome back.
on this Monday evening. We hope you had a great Monday. I'm Amber,
I'm Dr. Dana.
and we are moms on the mind.
Toot, toot, toot.
Hey y'all! Oh, we got some people joining us. I love it.
Like, share, follow, repeat.
Yeah, go ahead and send this to your friends and be like, hey, they're live. Y'all tune in, click the link. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and jump in and get started because we don't want to keep y'all all night and we just want to talk about mental health and parenting and education. That's what we do. But we always start off with a mommy meltdown.
Down.
It's
You
mommy meltdown time.
you going first tonight?
I'm going first. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, y'all, these COVID numbers, Delta variant numbers are going up. First of all, before we even talk about the COVID Delta variant numbers, it started, my mommy meltdown started when my 1 year old let me see, did they call me at the daycare? No, they didn't call me at the daycare.
What happened, girl?
We picked her up and, put in the car like normal. By the time we got people going in and out my house, y'all can hear the door. Uh,
WD-40.
okay, so we put her in the car like normal, brought her home, and we touched her because she was just looking like she was out of it. She was burning up hot. And we were like, ugh, what is wrong? And she had like stuffy nose, just runny nose for about a week. She go to daycare, so you know how that goes. Anyway, so she had a fever. It was like 103.6 or something. And so, of course, we're freaking out because we're like, anytime you got a fever in the household, around this time, everybody is everybody is freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
She got
so
COVID. She got the COVID-19.
exactly. So we were like, we both work. So we're like, okay, we got to stay at home. Somebody got to stay at home. She can't go to daycare. So we give her motion or whatever. And we decide she was going to stay at home. My husband works from home. So he was going to, hope ain't nobody from his job watching because,
Girl, don't put him on Front Street. Is he supposed to be at work?
no, he actually was able to work with her because,
Oh,
when kids are sick, they're mellow.
much
And
more.
so she slept. So he was able to actually work. So anyway, she was out. So she ran another fever that same day. I mean, that next day. So then the next day, she had to stay home again. Fine. I think I took off. I took off half a day and took her to the doctor. She had an ear infection. Right. Good. This what's happened. This is what happens with moms. I got tongue tied. Right. Like that you have to take off. You got to take your kid to the doctor. We used to that. Fine. So we get ready to go pick up the 2 year old from daycare. And we're like, okay, the 1 year old is going to go to daycare tomorrow. We're all going back to work. Everything is normal. We get a phone call from the daycare. And guess who running the fever now?
The 4-year-old.
The 2 year old. I
I
don't
mean,
have a
sorry, the
2 year old,
2-year-old. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm talking about my kid. Go
The
ahead.
2 year old has a fever. So that was my mommy meltdown. I know I'm long winded right now, but y'all. So we're
I'm so
sending
sorry, girl. I got lost. You know my ADHD got me.
So we're sending the 1 year old to school, back to school, but the 2 year old is now at home because he has a fever. So like we had a kid at home all week. And
COVID.
he only has a fever. So anyway, I was freaking out about COVID because we're like, oh, does he have COVID? He didn't have all the other symptoms. And so anyway, we did a COVID test and it was negative. But needless to say, I was stressed out all week. So my mommy meltdown was like over a span of 4 days. Just stressed, just like a lot going on, a lot to do.
So why didn't you do self-care Sunday?
Oh, self-care Sunday? It's going to be lit this Sunday. And one of the local cookie shops had cinnamon roll Sunday this Sunday. So.
Oh, sis got plans. What happened to eating right? See, all these moms be talking about, I'm going to get my baby weight.
That starts on Monday. 10-day smoothie cleanse on Monday. Okay. Anyway, that was my meltdown.
All right.
Mommy meltdown for you.
So I guess it was a meltdown. It was really a meltdown with the school. So now that we've had COVID at our school, the school closes early. So usually times are like 6 and 6:30. But because they have this special cleaning, which I greatly appreciate, do all the cleaning you need to do. Before school, after school, during school, all that. You have to pick your kid up by 5, right? And so I'm looking at these people like, okay, I am totally on board with the cleaning. I love it, like it. But people work 8 to 5 jobs, right? So how per se do you expect me to get my kid at 5 o'clock? And so, for me, like, I really, really hate it when my kid is like almost last for the last person. Okay. And my kid, like, she not used to it. So she gonna let me know, Mama, I was in there with such and such by myself. I was the only one. So, bad fuel. I be like, burning gas down the highway trying to get to you. I almost got a wreck on 2 wheels trying to get to you. So you're not the last kid, and my mommy guilt just like takes over. So one time I was late. I was like, okay, I'm not even gonna act a fool. You can't be that one in the daycare.
Right.
You gotta, act like
doctor.
You got some sense. So I said, okay, girl, and they still made me, this was pissed me off. So they still made me pay, right? That one time. I said, you know what? I'm just gonna keep it cute. Gonna pay you your little money, even though I pay you enough to educate my kid every day. And you suspending your hours. Because my thing is, if your hours are adjusted, why you still making people pay a late fee when you getting all this money? I'm already paying a COVID cleaning fee. I don't even know what this is.
And they adjusted the hours, but didn't adjust the tuition.
Hello, somebody. So, the second time I was late, and this was like a span of like 4 weeks. So it's not like I was back to back. Girl, it was traffic because guess what? We in Texas and it's wide open, baby. Okay. So I got stuck in traffic trying to get there, and I'm getting there, and they are literally the last kids there. Like, literally. The lady called me on the phone, and I knew it was her.
Oh, you got the
like right around the corner, just getting out of traffic. I was like, and she must have could tell I was me. I was like, I'm around the corner. There was traffic. She was like, okay, Miss Bradley. And I'm gonna do not play with me today, ma'am. I was tired. I'm rushing to get to my child. Listen, I called my mom on the phone. I said, Mama, I'm gonna need your Jesus piece today. Because these people gonna get it today if they try to charge me. When I got up there and that pulled up real like, let me turn down my rap music because I don't went all off the reservation. Oh, Miss Bradley, here are your kids. We're not gonna charge you today. Oh, okay. Bye.
Well, because of the way you answered that phone, they were like, don't charge her. Don't charge her today.
Listen, y'all are being unreasonable. Like 5 o'clock, people are just getting off. You could at least do 5:30, and you gonna charge me? Needless to say, I did not get charged today. So it wasn't per se a mommy meltdown, and I definitely ain't doing the repair with them because they're really getting over. So
right.
I have since got myself together.
Anybody can relate, y'all. Like, just put a heart,
y'all,
in the chat.
Like, these daycares it's like a business. My husband said, we need to own a daycare. I'm getting bank up in here. Like,
well, it is a business, yeah.
I'm just saying, though, the amount of fees they charging for like you to be late, it's a whole pandemic, and you can't even adjust your hours to 5:30. To me, you could have did 5:30. But I digress.
Yes. And to you daycare workers and owners that may be watching, we do understand that you suffered during the pandemic as well.
Yes. Yes, but I'm helping to keep y'all in business. I'm bringing my child so y'all get that COVID pay.
Okay.
Help a sister out over here. Okay. And I
All
support
right.
because I do feel they're underpaid. And I love my child's daycare. They are very good. But y'all
Oh,
gotta
but that
get
was your mommy meltdown. That was real. That was your mommy moment. You
it
don't
was
have
real.
to
They
make
was about
any
to get it.
excuses for your mom. That's right. You can have your mommy moment. Y'all, you can have mommy meltdowns. It's okay.
It is.
It's okay.
So what we talking about?
Okay. Okay. So it's September, the best month ever. This is my birthday coming up.
Is you
But
celebrating all year? Go ahead. This
I
is a
do.
good
I
topic.
still celebrate all year. But anyway,
Mhm.
September is also suicide prevention, suicide
Mhm.
awareness, prevention awareness month. And so, do I need to say that again? Did I get tongue tied again? Okay.
I know you okay.
September is suicide prevention awareness month. So, we felt like it would be good to talk about suicide prevention.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, because I mean, we are moms on the mind and we always talk about our kids. And from what I've read, suicide is the second leading cause of death in ages 10 through 24. I
Mhm.
mean, 10 years old, that's starting at elementary school. So it's a pretty important topic that we think should be addressed, and starting off this September with information about it. So, you got some stats for us?
Yes. So that was one. Suicide is the second leading cause in ages 10 to 24. It's also the second leading cause in college age youth 12 through 18. So if you go from 10 all the way to 18, more teenagers are dying from suicide than they are diabetes, cancer, heart disease,
Hmm.
AIDS, stroke, all this stuff, that's taking out more adults. This is, this pales in comparison to suicide. And so when you think about it, 4 out of 5 individuals considering suicide do give some signs that they are suffering or that something is going on. And most often in kids, they have told other people about it. And think about this: every 2 hours and 11 minutes, a young person under the age of 25 completes suicide, not
Hmm.
attempts.
That's true. Like, there's a difference between attempting and completing.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So for somebody, so every two, think about all the kids in the world, and every 2 hours and 11 minutes, a person under 25 completes suicide.
That's so sad.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. In 2019, like 47,000, almost 50,000 kids died by suicide.
Wow.
That's a lot of kids. So the
And
one,
then if you think like the number, like we don't even have a complete total number of people who attempted suicide, because a lot of people hadn't even told people that they've attempted suicide before.
Mhm.
So, if you think about all the attempts too, and if they actually completed it, it would be the number one cause of death
It
in
would be.
that age range.
It would be. And a lot of people think, oh, you have to have this long standing history of depression to go into commit suicide, and it's just not like that. And I think a lot of times parents are very hesitant, and kids, parents, everybody alone is very hesitant to talk about suicide. But we have to be talking about it, and we have to be educating ourselves, and we need to know the facts, the risk factors, what it looks like, and we definitely need to like dispel all these like fake news around suicide, because it's really killing us.
Yeah.
Think about the people who are like definitely most affected, by or who is at risk of suicide,
Hmm. Hmm.
especially in terms of kids. You think about people that look like us. African American youth have the third highest rates of suicide. Native Americans and Alaska.
And okay, wait. So we don't really think like that, like
Yeah, they
that.
black people don't commit suicide.
Like you, I mean, I don't know about where y'all from or in y'all community, but I've heard that several times. We don't do that. We don't commit suicide. We don't do that.
Lies.
Hmm.
Lies. And a lot of people think it has to do with socioeconomic status and things like that. But, there's really no stereotypical suicide type. And that's what's so scary for mental health professionals. Like, I tell parents all the time, I am concerned about your child. I can never predict this is going to happen today. But I can look at the risk factors and say, yo, this looks bad. We need to
Mm-hmm.
do something about it. So when you
Mm-hmm.
think about Native American kids, they actually have the highest rates of suicide related fatalities.
Really?
Yeah. They also have higher rates of alcoholism as well. You know,
Yeah, I think I knew about the alcoholism.
and Caucasians have the second highest rate of suicides. African Americans have the third. Hispanics really report more often. They report more attempts than like blacks and whites, like none or their non-Hispanic peers. So they report a lot of attempts, maybe not as many completions. And
Hmm.
the LGBTQ are like one of the highest
Oh yeah.
groups to consider, like risk for suicide, especially if you compare it to like heterosexual peers.
Yeah.
LGBTQ, that's like a big thing. And so oftentimes I'm counseling parents about this so that they are watching out for it, especially after a kid has, decided they wanted to do something different than a parent naturally thought that they wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of risk factors and there are a lot of groups. And oftentimes people think, oh, you can look at somebody and tell, oh my gosh, they're gonna commit suicide. But that's
Mm-hmm.
not really true,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah. So let's talk about the myths then, like of suicide, and
Yeah.
because I mean I think one of the myths you talked about is that black people don't commit suicide.
Oh yeah, that's a myth.
That's definitely a myth.
That's a myth.
Um, what else?
The biggest one I see about parents, they be like, I'm sitting here doing an evaluation with a kid, and I'm
Hmm.
asking them about suicide. And some parents, they do not want to ask because they feel like asking about suicide will like cause kids to like think
Do
about
it.
and
Yeah.
to do it, and
Yeah.
it'll give them an idea. But the complete opposite is true because if a person is depressed and they're unhappy, discussing their feelings openly and allowing them to have like somebody to bounce that off on and to talk to somebody about actually may help to kind of alleviate some of those things that are going on. The worst thing for you to do is have a kid that's really thinking about it all
Hmm.
day, every day, and has nobody to talk to and nobody asks, and they proceed with the plan that they have in their head. So I tell parents, no, 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 you don't need to steer away from this topic. If you're concerned, you actually need to be either presenting them to a professional to talk about it,
Yeah.
or you need to be addressing it yourself and asking them, even if you have suicidal thoughts, it's, I'm not mad at you. I just want to know, and give them permission to express those thoughts. Make it open, make it open for them so they feel like they can come and talk to you about it because the alternative is deadly.
Yeah. Well, and then another myth too is that, and I've heard this, I don't know if you've heard this, but another myth is that if they're talking about it, they're not going to do it.
Oh yeah, no, that's
Because, people feel like,
mhm.
um, well, they're too verbal about it. They're too verbal about
Mhm.
talking about the suicide, so they're not gonna go through with it. They're
Right.
most people that commit suicide, it's a surprise and you don't know, and
Yes.
so that's a myth too. So if they're talking about it, take it serious.
Oh,
Like, don't think that, oh, they're not gonna do it just because they're actually talking about it. Because you have those two
right.
types of people, right? You have those people who are more quiet and they're contemplating and they haven't really talked to anybody about it and they go through with it.
Mhm.
And then you have those people who told the whole world and then y'all nobody believed them and then
Right.
they went through with it.
I mean, it's just so many myths in the community. Like suicide attempt happens without warning.
Hmm.
You might not immediately understand what a warning was, but oftentimes people that are thinking about suicide, they may hide their intentions, but there may be cues or things that you look to figure out that we were heading in that direction. But I always say hindsight is 2020, and so having a conversation like that is kind of tricky. You
Mm-hmm.
think of people who've attempted suicide before. If you've attempted suicide before, you're more likely to do it again, especially with right acutely after.
Yeah.
People who have a preoccupation with death or expressing all these thoughts about death and dying. In adults or even in kids, you see people giving away their possessions. They got a prize cat that they talk about, and all of a sudden, yeah, you can just give your cat away. And sometimes the cat is the only thing keeping them alive. They're giving the cat away. That's a red flag.
I saw that on a TV show,
Mhm.
where I guess it was a TV show or movie. I can't remember where it was, but the girl was giving away all the furniture in her apartment,
Yeah.
and she was like planning, like she was
Mhm.
like, "Hey, I want you to have this," and they were like, "Why? Why do you want to?" I'm getting another one, and I just think that you should have it. And the person was like, "But you just bought it." Like,
Mhm.
but the people around her, even though they questioned it, it didn't raise that flag of, oh, they're giving away these things
Yeah.
that they like, or these new things, these things that, like you said, prized possession, and
Yeah.
they have been depressed, or
Mhm.
maybe they did say something to trigger the thought that they could be contemplating suicide. So I don't think people realize that that's a red flag.
Right. Right. A big red flag.
Hmm.
Which one? I
That's
mean, there's
good. What you
yeah.
say?
I said there's just so many things, so much, some people are always suicidal. No, not always. Or things like the main problem is trying to figure it out for them, or most suicides happen in people that have lower socioeconomic status. In fact, suicide is equal across all, like whether you rich or poor, it don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Poor people don't have higher rates of suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And while the literature at some places is incomplete about that, but that previous evidence-based medicine does not prove that to be the case. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so the people often think about that as well as like a myth of suicide.
Yeah. And I think another myth is that you can't stop them. Like,
Mhm.
once they talk to you about it, or once you,
Yeah,
then people's like, well, nobody was going to be able to stop them. And not to say that you should question yourself if you
right,
have experienced that and someone close to you has committed suicide, but I think the thing is, don't feel like you can't talk to them or can't
right,
get help for that person
right.
if you hear someone talking about suicide. So let's like, just talking about the kids and the
Mhm.
kids you see. We
Mhm.
talked about talking about suicide, but what do you, when you say talking to your kids about suicide, what if the child has never brought it up? I mean, is this something that we should be bringing up first to our kids?
Mhm.
What do you think? Because I'm gonna be honest, as a mom in this new age, I'm just tired of bringing up like the bad stuff, or the things that I feel like put so much worry on kids. I
Mhm.
don't know. Like, I feel like back in our day, we didn't talk about as much as I feel like we have to present to our kids before the world presents it to them.
Right.
So I guess the question is, do we talk to our kids just about what suicide is? And if so, what age?
I mean, I think it's really, for me, for it depends on the situation, right? It depends on the kid. It depends on, because there's some 11 year olds that act like an 11-year-old or think like an 11-year-old, but there's 11
Hmm.
year olds who may act or think like a 10-year-old or a 9-year-old or a 5
Yeah.
year old. And so I think when it's developmentally appropriate. Now, do I think that you have a happy-go-lucky child walking around, nothing's going on? Let me sit down and talk to you about it. No. But what I do think is, if you have a kiddo who's had someone that has attempted suicide, If you have a kiddo who has a friend that has suicidal thoughts or cutting, if you have a kid who is depressed or very anxious, these are conversations that is definitely within the realm to be having.
Okay.
Yeah, because if a kid is old enough to be depressed, or if a kid is old enough to talk to you, or old enough to even be having the conversations with their friends, then they're having them, and you want to make sure that they're getting the correct information
Mm-hmm.
and things that like to guide them.
Right.
So I don't think it's a conversation you need to steer away from, but I think it depends on what's happening in your kid's life, and what are the other influences around them, and what you feel like they can handle for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because this conversation may be very appropriate for a 6 or 7 year old that talks about death, that has cancer. But it's not appropriate for a 15-year-old that is just walking around, doing nothing and living life and, like that.
Well, and I think you have to know your child too and understand that, especially kids that are like 5 and 6, their death is a topic that is going to come up with kids, like just because they're curious and they're learning about life and they're learning about birth and death and everything else. That doesn't necessarily mean that you got to be all you know dark with
Right.
it, and yeah, it's morbid.
And
And
even at that age, like if you're thinking about just death in general, a lot of kids don't grasp the conceptualization of
mm-hmm.
death till like about 7 or 9 anyway. Like, around that age, because you think they have a family member that died maybe like 5 or 4 or like 6, they're like, well, when is such and such coming back?
Right.
They went to heaven, but they're coming back, right? Even
Well,
though might have a conceptualization of heaven,
mm-hmm.
but then it takes a little while for them to catch on to how permanent it is.
Yes. So the thing is to just know your child, and suicide might not be that topic that you discuss when they're learning about death, just because it's always going to be a topic that comes up, but we're not saying like, oh yeah, talk about suicide with your child.
Exactly.
At that moment, I mean, I remember in kindergarten, we passed the cemetery on the way to school. It wasn't near the school, but it was just, on our drive. And so we had a lot of talks about death because of the cemetery.
Right.
So the thing is to know your child as well.
Mm-hmm. And I always tell parents, like, if you don't know what to ask, you can always ask, are you feeling sad or depressed? You can ask them, like, have you had thoughts of hurting yourself or killing yourself? And oftentimes people are jarred by that, but I find people are more jarred by the answers that the kids give, because oftentimes they've never told their parents that they've thought about that, and the parents have never asked about it. And so it almost is like a very shocking moment for them to have to, and they feel like I'm so blunt about it, but I need to know. And I can't take no kind of, maybe, sort of, nah, I need to know. So what you mean, like kind of mean yes to me. That's what I tell all my teachers. You tell me a kind of is yes. So explain to me what you mean.
And I think the other thing is, like, you have to think about what's going on at school. Like,
because
we hear a lot of stories. You all hear them in the news about kids who were bullied and they committed suicide, and maybe parents didn't know they were being bullied, and some parents did know and was trying to intervene, and they still went through with it and committed suicide. And I think even from the people that I know who've committed suicides, or people that I know of who were children, I think that's the first place the whole family went to. What was happening at school? Went to their phone, their text messages, what happened at school leading up to this. And so just being aware. And the thing is, kids aren't going to tell you everything. But knowing your child, knowing when they're kind of closed off. I mean, but there was a situation I remember where the child, like the parents literally was like, he was always in his room, or he was always, but he was still very active in all the different sports. He still did everything.
And that's the myth, right? They have to be depressed,
yes,
in order to attempt suicide. That's not true. But I have a question for you then, like as far as school, because I've had kids come to me and I find that it's like different in schools. So like like do they have things at school that would help to identify kids that are suicidal? And what happens when a kid becomes or they find out? Like what's the standard thing to do, or what school interventions can a parent have? That's a lot of questions, sorry.
Yeah. And like we say every week is that every school is different, every school
Right.
district is different.
Right.
Um I do know that, and we've said this before too, but in the state of Texas, they are implementing more social emotional learning
Mm.
lessons. They are training teachers and they are implementing some time for those social
Right.
emotional learning because they understand that educating a child and raising a child is more than academic, right? Like if their social and emotional health is not there, like if it's not healthy,
Right.
then it's
Right.
hard to get that academic piece in. And so I think that piece is a prevention measure in itself.
Gotcha.
Um, but when we do hear kids make threats that they're going to kill themselves or even others, or there's always a protocol, and every single school has a protocol with this. Now, your protocol may look different, and your go-to people may look different, but every single school has a protocol for this. And so I know for one of my schools, it was, immediately reported it to the counselor. The counselor pulled the student and had specific questions, research based
Mm-hmm.
questions, and the counselors are trained to ask the child, immediately call the parent and let the parent know, and then not to let the child out of sight. So if the child was going
Mm-hmm.
to ride the bus, they couldn't get on the bus. The
Right.
parent had it was the child had to be handed off to another adult. Um,
Right.
the problem is, and I've read a story, is that that did happen at a school, not here, not in my area, but
Mm-hmm.
I've read about it. It did happen at a school where the child made threats. They handed the child off to the adult, but the adult dropped the child off at home, and the child did go through with it. And so I think one of the other things for parents to know is that if your child does make a
Yeah.
comment about attempting, and the school calls you and say, hey, we need you to pick up your child, or not even pick them up, like they can stay at school. It was just, but we wouldn't let them leave school by themselves. Take
Right.
it seriously and don't leave the child alone.
Yeah.
um, so
So I say, like, just lastly, just thinking about kind of like the do's and don'ts for parents to do, because parents are always like, what do I do? Like, because it's like a time of frantic, is just, remain calm and, don't be reactive. Listen more than you talk, because the listening will guide you. Be prepared to like talk about it. Don't say, well, I'm going to ignore it, or I'm not going to, this is not my child. My child would never. Be open to talking about it. Be preparing to act. And do not promise confidentiality. Do not promise that a kid, like, and this is any adult, if it's your like cousin, you're an adult to another kid, and they say, I want to tell you this, and I don't want you to tell anybody. Like, even when they come to a psychiatrist's office, there are many confidential things that teens tell me: drugs, rock and roll, sex, alcohol. And I tell them plain out, if you tell me you're going to kill yourself for somebody else, our bets are off. That doesn't mean you're immediately going to a psychiatric facility, but I can't, that's a confidence I cannot keep. The
mhm.
other thing is, never assume that it's just for attention. Never
Yeah.
assume that. That's a big thing, that, oh, they're just saying that because they want attention, because they mad at me because I did X, Y, Z. That ain't always the case.
Mhm.
And always be willing to take them to get some psychiatric treatment or some psychiatric care. Know their friends, because likely they're going to tell their friends before they tell you.
Yeah.
So if you are in tune with knowing their friends of a kid who has struggles with depression and all this, then you have an insight on your kid from another perspective. And if you have a good alliance with them, then they're going to call you because they're worried about they're worried about your child.
Yeah.
It's another thing too. So those are
And
just tips, and we'll have more tips coming out this week as you see throughout on our post on Instagram. Like, share, follow.
like, share, follow. And then we did have the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline that was at the bottom of the screen. So
Mhm.
if you know anyone or you need to call that number, feel free to call that number, and then 1-800-273-8255 and share it. And let's be more, I guess, open about
Yeah,
talking about this and talking to our kids and asking for help when we need help. So,
yeah.
all right,
That's him.
wrap it up. Wrap it up.
What's
Okay.
our question?
Question of the day. So we always ask you all to um, email us at momsonthemind@gmail.com or DM us, slide into our DMs on Facebook or Instagram and ask us a question. And so
Mhm.
we had a mommy that asked a question, and her question was, I'm pulling it up.
Our drama.
What age is inappropriate to allow your kids to take baths together?
Like, okay.
So, so I'm assuming she had siblings.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, she has multiple kids, so they're siblings, and they take baths together. So, what age
Mm.
is? Where is it? What at what age do you stop taking baths together?
I mean, it depends on the kid because it's more like a developmental thing. So all kids don't have awareness of things all at the same time. But I say definitely around 4 or 5. Like you need to be thinking about it 100%. Because you got to think, kids can tell you, "I'm a boy, I'm a girl" at 2 years old. So my 2 year
Yeah,
old say, "I'm a girl."
yeah.
Right?
My
But
2-year-old.
that you're right. That might not mean much to them except for like what it looks like. They're not associated with sexual parts at that point all the
Mm-hmm.
time, but they will be because you know what happens at 2 year old? Potty training. And then
Mm-hmm.
girls start to realize, oh, I got to sit down and he got to stand up. And so then at 3 year old, they recognize the difference in being like female versus male because now they're usually potty trained. And so they're at a stage where they realize, oh, I have a vagina and that's a penis and it's not the same.
Right.
And so then you get to 4 or 5, then that's what they start thinking of gender identity. That okay, I identify as this girl or boy, and this is what it means to me around 4 or 5. So I would say between those ages, you might need to be like
So
really.
even if they're same sex, like even if it's not boy girl, even if it's like two boys,
I mean, I
two
guess
girls.
I have to talk to the college because I'm assuming they worried about more opposite sex than same sex.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, because same sex is like, whatever, y'all got the same parts, y'all not. But now the one thing I've also had get questions about is mom and the kid. Yeah, it's time to cut it off. Like it's very convenient. Will it traumatize your child? Probably not. But if your child coming in, looking at you, looking at daddy, looking at him or her, look like, like, baby, you gonna have some questions you is not ready for. So
You is
why
not.
daddy gotta say that? Why he got that long thing? Why mama? What's that thing on your chest? Why mine don't look like that? What you do with it? Like, is you ready for this, sis? Is you ready?
Is you ready, Lord have
If
mercy?
you ain't, cut it off, sis. Cut it off. Okay.
Okay.
Because kids are inquisitive and they just want to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
You know,
that was good. That was good.
I mean, y'all better hide your body parts and get your kids their own bathtub and stuff. Yeah, that was rough, but
Oh my goodness. I like that question. That was a good question. Don't forget to send us questions. We appreciate you all for joining us live.
And please stay tuned and follow our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube page for more information this week. We'll be talking about suicide and Suicide Prevention Month. This is a super important topic, especially in the Black community. And we don't want y'all to miss the stuff that we're about to present. You know, this is only designed, we only do it for about 45 minutes, so we can't get everything. So please continue to follow us and like, share, subscribe, and repeat.
Yeah.
Bye.